And I remember the feeling I was, weird about, because it's like, what do you do? And what's the next thing? I had a buddy who was going to work, going to do a job interview at a bar and convention hall in Asbury Park.
Which one?
It was called, I don't know if it was Beach Bar, but
okay.
And then there was
I thought it might be like Asbury Lanes or something.
No, I wish. Dude,
one of those places I played in.
Yeah, I miss the lanes. It's there now, but it's not the lanes.
No. I mean, Asbury, I talked about this, I think, with Geneva once, with my friend Glenn. Asbury Park, when I was touring, was where all of the white power skinheads and punks lived. So, like, back then, it was like there in Lancaster, were like the two places that, like, if you're going to go play there, like, you need to be very careful.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing.
It's a thing. You're going to show up. You're going to have to deal with it. And so I remember coming back to Asbury post-Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
This was maybe like 2016. Yeah. Yes, probably 2017. A friend of mine needed a ride down there. And so I drove him down to this thing he was going to, thinking, all right, like, isn't it funny what the mind does? Like, so I'm touring in like 2006. So like 10 years later. So I'm 23, now I'm 33, 34. I'm an adult. I have a job, got a wife. And still, my mind slips right back into, all right, I'm going to Asbury, like, start looking for all the white power people let's look for the Nazis so I can, like get in a fight. Like, I hadn't thrown a punch in anger in probably 8 years at that point. And I'm like, all right,
It's something crap.
And then I go down there and I'm like, there's a Fruitables and like the whole place changed, which is what time does. It's just in my mind, I froze into what it was.
Yeah, and Asbury Park, just historically, was a pretty rough area. I didn't see much of like the far-right nationalist types around, I guess, when I was kind of growing up. I mean, I know they're around, and they're around everywhere.
Sure.
And it's just bad guys out there doing bad things for bad reasons.
Yeah, so you were doing a job, so you went and worked in a bar in Asbury.
Yeah. But I remember very distinctly, like, my boy was like, my buddy Teeds, who let me live with him during Hurricane Sandy, because my place got, took a little water. It took a few months to get it back going. And my buddy Teeds is like, dude, like, why don't you just come here? It's a summer job. You ain't doing anything else right now. Like, those honest things that, like, you need a guy in your life to be like, bro, you need to kind of get off the couch and, like, figure something out. Whenever I went there, I was wearing, like, a button-down shirt, jeans. I'm like, well, whatever, dude. And I did, like, an interview, and they're like, you're, like, way overqualified
for this job.
But sure, do you want to do security? I'm like, yep, sign me up. And dude, I remember I was just like, what? Dude, that turned into, like, one of the best 6 month to a year periods of my life, because I was back around normal people. The whole political thing, as you know, can become very inflated and, like, not cool, and, like, just
it becomes insular.
You're away from normal people as much as you might not want to think you are.
Yeah, and it's kind of the paradox of doing it, because if you're working in it, you're around people who every single little move on local or state level, like, is news, because I always felt, I mean, I don't, you did it longer than I did, but I always felt that the things that you traded on were information and favors.
Sure.
Right? So if I know something you don't know, I can share that with you, and maybe I get a favor to be named later or whatever, because I tipped you off on something. And it's not nefarious. It's just sort of the way it happens. And that can get you can get very wrapped up in that. You get very wrapped up in what did this person say. You get super wrapped up in what other people think about me. Like, what's everybody saying about me?
What you hear,
and what's the paradox about it is, whoever you're working for, the candidate, whatever, the person in elected office, all that person is trying to do is convince everybody they're a normal human being. Right? It's like paradoxical. It's ironic.
Approachable and relatable.
Yeah,
I know, man. So whatever. Dude, Wentworth on the boardwalk, and, like, I never had less money in my life, as an adult, and I was never happy. And I remember there was the time I was like washing dishes there, and I'm like, man, I'm wearing an apron washing dishes. And like I jokingly said to my buddy Teeds, like, yo, man, take a picture of this. Because one day I want to look back on that and chuckle.